I've known Joe so long that when we first met, I went by Jason Baer. And in 2008, I actually changed my name on purpose from Jason to Jay because there were so many other of my contemporaries in the marketing business named Jason. I wanted to differentiate. And looking at today's agenda, with the cornucopia of Jays, I miscalculated dramatically in that name change. And I think my whole career is really a series of miscalculations and occasionally some good calls. And I think that's true for all of us. And if you don't remember anything else I tell you, I want you to remember this. To be successful as a content entrepreneur, you only have to be right 51% of the time. It's true. You're gonna make mistakes. You're gonna make tons of mistakes every day, every week, every month, every quarter, and every year. You just have to be right slightly more than you're wrong and have the intestinal fortitude to understand that mistakes are just part of the process. So I continue to make a lot of mistakes. My new hobby / business / whatever is tequila advice and education, as Joe mentioned. I'm gonna tell you my story about how I got there, how I turned my hobby into a 6-figure business in about 6 months. I'm gonna tell you the 6 questions that I asked myself along the way. Some of you may know me from my B2B career from 2008 to 2021. I was the founder and owner of Convince and Convert, a global marketing and customer experience consultancy. I wrote several best-selling books, was the co-founder and co-host of the award-winning Social Pros podcast. And in 2020, 21-ish, I discovered that the pandemic was the best thing that ever happened to me. Because I'm also a very busy professional speaker and do 60 to 65 events like this a year, which creates a lot of travel, it's a lot of time on the road, I love it. But I was doing all that travel, all that speaking, and running a global consulting business. And I realized when I had to stop traveling, so I had to stop doing the speaking business, that I was a heck of a lot less happy than I thought I was. I had literally been lying to myself for a decade. And so I said, I need to do something different. So I sold Convince and Convert and decided to do something different. And so the question became then, in 2022, well, what do I do now? I'm still speaking a lot. I'm still out there all the time, but I had some free time on my hands. And so I remembered back to 1996 to 1998 in my youth, before I even had children, and I would sit in the stool that you see circled. This is Los Sombreros, which is a restaurant and bar in downtown Scottsdale. My very good friend Tom Brecky and I used to go to this restaurant every Wednesday night, and we would sit in those exact stools, and we would go to church. And the reverend of that church was the bartender, Steve. Steve was very, very, very early in the mezcal and agave spirits world. Way before mezcal became a thing in the United States, Steve was on it. So we would go every Wednesday night and just sit in the pews and tell us about mezcal. So I got really into it and have over time gotten more and more interested in mezcal, tequila, and agave spirits. So when I decided to fill some of my time that I'd gotten back after selling my consulting firm, the first question I asked myself was this: well, what's the concept here? And I decided, well, let's keep it simple. What if I just try to teach people some of what I've learned over a 25-year period about tequila? For example, and I actually feel like, with your permission, I feel like if we're gonna talk about tequila, we ought to have tequila. So I'm gonna go ahead and have some now. I mean, it's 5 o'clock somewhere, Athens or something. I feel like it's okay. So the thing about tequila is that all the tequila in the world is made in a region about the size of Tennessee, so not a very big area at all. There are 2 tequila making regions. The original region called the Valley. Tequilas from that area, like this, are more earthy and spicy. Then you have a newer area called the Highlands, which is at altitude, 4,500 to 7,200 feet. Tequilas from the Highlands are more mineral, more citrus forward. So kind of like wine, they're different terroirs, if you will. The other thing about tequila that makes it really difficult and tricky to make is that all the tequila in the world is made out of one plant, the blue Weber agave. Now, there are 30 different agaves used to make mezcal. There are more than 100 different agave species overall, but only one variety of that plant can be used by law to make tequila. So imagine if all the wine in the whole world, all the wine, was only Pinot Noir. That's what tequila is like. It's a very specific way to make the spirit. Now, some of you are familiar with tequila. I'll give you a little bit of information that you'll want to know. There are 4 different expressions of tequila classically, 4 different popular expressions. First is Blanco, which is generally unaged, least expensive. Then is the Reposado, which is this one, which is aged in oak barrels from 2 months to 12 months. Then we have Añejo, which is aged from 1 to 3 years in oak barrels. And then Extra Añejo, which is aged more than 3 years in oak barrels. So as it gets older, it gets more expensive. It gets darker because the wood impacts the color, and it gets sweeter and softer as it gets older. So on the far side, it's more bourbon-ish, whiskey-ish, scotch-ish, if that's your jam. On the left, it's more, imagine vodka but with flavor, is I think the best way to describe it. So the second question I asked myself in this journey was, well, how can I best deliver this information? And to whom should I deliver it? First question, channels. I know Joe hates channels, but you got to pick them eventually. And there's a lot of different ways to educate people about tequila. You could do a blog, you could do a podcast, you could do a long-form YouTube channel, you could do a series of puppet shows. There's a lot of things that you could do. But I decided to focus on Instagram and TikTok for a couple of reasons. Those are the places where the tequila brands tend to be more active. And also, while in my B2B career, I had done a lot of podcasting, a lot of blogging, a lot of long-form YouTube, a lot of book writing, etc., I really had never done a consistent short-form video execution. And because my whole goal, my literally entire goal when I started this project was, what if someday I could use a corporate Amex to buy tequila? What if someday this was a legitimate business expense? That was my only goal. And I blew past that goal pretty quickly. So it was very subtle, very low stakes to begin with. But partially the reason I picked these channels is I just didn't know much about these channels. I thought, well, what also will help me learn? So I picked Instagram and TikTok. The next thing I thought about is, who's the competition? There are other tequila educators out there, and this is a question that if you haven't spent time asking yourself this one, you need to, even if you haven't done it recently. This is a question you need to ask, I think, quarterly, because new competitors, and whatever it is that you're teaching, new competitors emerge all the time. Here's the truth. You cannot succeed as a creator unless you are somebody's favorite creator in the world. Period. And the only way you can be somebody's favorite creator in the world is if you understand who else is out there and what you do different/better than them. It's okay to say, I'm gonna do it like her but better. It's okay to say, it's gonna be like him but better or different. It's okay. And in fact, to not be honest with yourself about competition is doing your creator business a disservice. So I did a competitive analysis and kind of figured out how I wanted to go. And for me, the key was to keep it simple, simple, simple. My good friend Rory Vaden, who runs the Brand Builders Group, which I think is the best personal brand training program in the world, says your ideal audience is the person that you used to be. Don't you love that? Your ideal audience is the person you used to be. Whatever it is that you know, and this is a room full of experts, whatever it is that you know, there was a time that you didn't know jack shit about that. It's true. And there was a time, it was a while ago, but there was a time that I didn't know anything about tequila. But I spent a lot of time reading. I've gone to Mexico many, many, many times. I've visited with lots of distilleries and producers and have sampled lots of different tequilas. But there was a time I didn't know anything. And so my goal was to communicate to the people who don't know anything. Because remember, you're not creating content for yourself and for other experts. You're creating content for the people that you used to be. So here's how I did the math on this. 40 million Americans approximately have had at least one cocktail in the last month that contains tequila. As you might suspect, the preponderance of those are margaritas. That's okay. 40 million people have at least one tequila cocktail a month. There is an app in the tequila world called Tequila Matchmaker, where you go to rate tequilas and review tequilas, and it's kind of like where the nerds go, okay? There are 400,000 total downloads of that app. So if we do the math on that, 99% of tequila drinkers are not aficionados. And all the other tequila educators out there, when I started, were nerds talking to nerds. It was really advanced tequila experts creating content so that people like them would say, that's really smart. And there's nothing wrong with that, but that's a very narrow addressable audience. So my goal was, no question too basic. Let's start off talking to the people who had that one night in college, and that is their one and only experience with tequila. That is my core audience. There's people in this room who never drank tequila until I started this project, and now do, because they used to be that person. So this is literally my first video ever. I'm better at it now than I was then, but this is my very first video ever, April 17th, last year.
Why do they put worms in tequila bottles? Actually, they don't and never have. It's against the production standards to put a worm in a tequila bottle. It's also not a worm at all. It is a moth larva. It's called the Gusano del Maguey, and it feeds on agave plants. In the 1940s, 1950s, producers of mezcal, which is a cousin of tequila, we'll talk about that down the road, producers of mezcal started to put this larva in bottles purely as a marketing ploy. It's not an aphrodisiac, it's not a hallucinogenic, etc. It's just for marketing, but it is a moth larva that you find in agave fields very commonly. When it becomes a moth full grown, it's called a mariposa. However, in Oaxaca and other parts of Mexico, they make a salt out of this moth larva. It's called sal del gusano. It's 3 parts. It's ground up moth larva, it is peppers, and it is salt, and it is amazing. Smoky, spicy, get it, put it on cocktails, you'll love it.
So there you go. People
think
it's worms. It's not worms, right? It's no question too basic. So speaking of which, let's talk about sipping tequila, okay? First thing is, don't use a shot glass, it's too narrow. You want a wider opening so you can really smell it. Second thing is, don't put it in the freezer. Put anything in a freezer, it mutes the aromas and mutes the flavors. There's a reason why things want you to put it in the freezer. You know how I know that? Drink a room temperature Coors Light. Don't drink it till the mountains are blue. The mountains gotta be blue. Greatest marketing trick of all time. Tastes terrible at room temperature, tastes passable when it's cold. Genius, right? You don't need to put your tequila in the freezer. You don't need ice in your tequila. You don't need to drink it with lime. Just straight in a glass. Room temperature is the way to go. Simplest thing you can possibly do. So the third question that I asked myself was about tactics. So how can I optimize this content to create a loyal community? And so because I come from the world of digital, I of course went through a round of testing and optimization. Started off with day of week testing. When should I publish? Classically on the Instagram, TikTok world, you would publish every day, but I don't got that kind of time because I'm still traveling all the time. So I'm like, I can't do every day. So I decided to do a day of week testing. Turns out, and this was a bit of a surprise, weekends are bad for tequila content. I thought initially, well, people typically drink tequila on weekends, so let's publish on weekends. Nope, doesn't work. They're too busy drinking tequila. So it's actually better. I publish Monday through Thursday. Also did some time of day testing, and the apps, of course, will help you with that. Nights are better, probably stands to reason. You don't want to look at a lot of tequila content at work, so typically we publish in the evenings. And then over time developed a very consistent look for the videos, consistent lighting, consistent camera work, consistent captions and subtitles, etc. That's differentiated from the work I do in B2B, but it took a while to kind of get into a stride for that, the same way it is in any content format. And then we figured out the actual content calendar. So it's 4 times a week now, Monday through Friday. About 45% of the content we create are reviews, tequila reviews. I do all these reviews with my assistant, Maddie. Maddie is not only my assistant for tequila, but she's my assistant for my whole business. One of the challenges I have now is I used to have 20 FTEs working for me, and now it's me and part-time Maddie. So my delegation scheme is limited compared to what it used to be. So here's how the reviews work.
Casamigos Blanco.
We've all had it. and more people seem to be drinking it. $50 or so for the Blanco, so the price is getting up there a little bit as well.
Yeah. It smells very vanilla.
Very
forward.
vanilla, but not as like freak show as I had feared.
All right.
Like it's vanilla for sure, but it's not.
Yeah, it's not overwhelming. I actually don't hate it. It tastes a little vanilla-y.
For sure, and lemony.
And lemony.
But then it's got like a medicinal thing towards the end. It's like vanilla lemon medical supplies. That's the part that gets me.
Yeah, the finish isn't amazing.
I think it actually finishes kind of hot.
It does, for sure.
I mean, how'd you see this? On the back of this, it says 100% agave azul with a smooth vanilla finish. It literally says smooth vanilla finish on the back. Here's a note, vanilla is not a common tasting characteristic in Blancos. It's a 5 for me. Sorry, guys.
All right, I'm gonna give it a 6. Didn't hate it, wouldn't drink it straight, would probably be good with a mixer.
Yeah, and I would say you've got to go a mixer that's got some pop to it, because otherwise the vanilla lemon thing is going to shine through. So spicy grapefruit margarita from Q or something like that that's got some real flavor, so that this is sort of the secondary character, that would definitely work.
Yeah.
So that's how that works. 45% of the time are reviews. We also then do tequila education videos, like you saw the one, I'll skip through this one, but like you saw the one about worms, this one is about how agaves are shaved in the field. So approximately 2 reviews a week and 2 education videos a week. And actually it's going pretty well. And it started going pretty well relatively early. We average about 30,000 views per video. We've had several videos that have gone over 1 million views and 210,000 combined followers on Instagram and TikTok. And it's funny because, again, I was in B2B content 30 years. Award-winning podcast, best-selling books, global consulting firm with an unbelievable client list, a blog with millions of readers, and now I get recognized all the time. I'm in the Delta Club at Atlanta, the bartender lady, you're Tequila J. Baer. On planes, in the mall. My takeaway is that people like tequila a lot more than they like B2B content. And I gotta tell you, after investing 30 years in that, it's a little disheartening. I'm like, what if I would have started this earlier? But it is funny too, because tequila has a lot of people, they love it, right? And they're in the business, or they want to be in the business. So literally, I have like DM conversations with Jamie Oliver and The Rock, who has a tequila brand, and Sammy Hagar. And I'm doing an Instagram live soon with Guy Fieri on tequila tasting, pairing with food. Like, it's crazy. You know how I could do an Instagram live with Guy Fieri about customer experience? No friggin' chance, right? But you start talking about tequila and everybody is interested, right? And literally, when I say my goal was to just buy tequila with a business card, I'm not kidding. And now they send me tequila all the time. My biggest problem right now is shelving. So if there's any shelf manufacturers out there, please come see me. 4th question was reach. Okay, how can I sustain this community without being beholden to algorithms? And when you build a community on top of TikTok and Instagram in particular, you are beholden to an algorithm. And I think we all know, if you listen to Joe's advice, that is a bad idea. I certainly know that. So I came up with a new plan. First of all, I just want you to understand why this works, okay? Tequila is booming. 40% increase in tequila sales in 2 years. Right? For a spirit that's been around since the 1600s, that's a pretty steep hockey stick, okay? 60% of all tequila is consumed in the United States, right? So occasionally I get comments like, why should I listen to a gringo about what tequila to drink? I'm like, because the math says that everybody who's spending money on it are also gringos. There are 2,000 different tequila brands, 2,000, 200 new ones last year alone. So the consumer is very confused. And how could they not be? Every time they go to the store, every time they go to the bar, every time they go to the restaurant, there's a different brand. Like, what is this? Is this good? Should I buy this? Pricing is all over the place. It's very confusing. So I decided to take my audience from Instagram and TikTok to a place where I could reliably reach them when I want to, and here's how I do it.
There are a lot of tequila brands out there. Which ones should you buy? I've not tried every tequila, but I've tried a lot of them. And I just finished the brand new winter 2023 version of my top 20 tequila brands list. Thousands of people have downloaded this list, and they take it with them to the store, to the bar, to the restaurant, helps them make better buying decisions. Few changes from the last edition of the list as well. If you've gotten the list from me before, I will email you an update directly. If you don't have it yet, go here and grab it. It'll save you time. It'll save you money. Top 20 tequila brands. Tequila teacher, Jay Baer.
New list comes out next week, so if you want to get it, tequilalists.com, that's plural, tequilalists.com. I will ask for your email address so that I can email the list to you, because then I can reach you when I want to. I don't have to rely on Instagram to maybe kind of sort of, if I ask permission nicely, show you my new post. I can send it to you when I want to. We have 28,000 subscribers to this list. We grow about 1,000 subscribers per week. Last time I sent an email a month ago, 72% open rate, which is pretty good. Click-through rate of 26%. We did a tequila promotion with a brand that we work with and said, hey, this tequila is on sale. We sold $14,000 for the tequila in 7 hours. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So when you are in control of the outreach, you are a much, much more viable content entrepreneur than if you're just hoping and praying that the algorithms show your content to the right people at the right time. So from a revenue standpoint, the next question was, oh, well, this is now a thing. Now this is a business. And my wife said, don't start another business, you just sold a business. I said, I won't. I'm like, oh, shit. Started another business on accident. So the revenue question, how can I monetize this without annoying the community, right? We all think that, right? We all want to monetize, but you don't want to monetize at the expense of your audience's trust and patience. So my friend Rory at Brand Builders Group uses this protocol that I want to teach you that I really love. It's the 5 categories of creator revenue, and he calls it your paids, figuring out your paids. P is for products, A is for ads or affiliate revenue, I is for information, so courses and such. D is for deals, book deal, movie deal, podcast deal, etc. And then S is for services. Figure out your paids. Which of those 5 revenue streams make the most sense for you and for your community? So here's how we do it. These are actual numbers. For products, we've got a merch store launching soon, probably in the next 30 days. We'll have shirts, hats, glasses like this one, flasks, coasters, the whole deal. We expect limited revenue initially because we're just testing that, probably 10K this year. We do have an ads and affiliate program, so when I tell people to buy a tequila, we've got affiliate deals with 2 online tequila sellers. We get $5 per order or 6% per order, depending on where we send you. We have monthly sponsorships from Q Mixers, which we talked about in the Casamigos video, so they pay us a monthly sponsorship fee. We also have, both Maddie and myself, a number of apparel sponsors. So Weird Shirts is kind of our side thing, and so we get tons of shirts sent to us, and we have shirt sponsors for both of us as well. So ads and affiliate revenue, probably 30 grand this year. We are very, very strict about saying no to tequila brand sponsorship, because we feel like if we're being paid to say this is a good tequila, why are we here? Why are we here? And it's interesting though, when we talked about this on a video, we kind of broke down the truth about how we do reviews and why we do them and when we do them. And a lot of our audience said, we don't care if you are getting paid. And I was like, wow, that's shocking to me. But we're not gonna get paid. So we do not take money from active tequila brands. We have a couple consulting clients of new brands that are emerging, but if you're a brand on the shelf, we will not take money from you to talk about you, period, and we're not gonna change that, because I feel like if you don't have any ethics, why do this, right? We also have services, and this is the biggest revenue stream this year, is doing tasting. So I did a tasting last night for some of you. We do a version of that, an expanded version of it, for corporate clients. So a lot of times I'll go do a keynote, a business-to-business keynote in my regular plaid suit, and then at night we'll say, would you like to have a high-end tequila tasting for your sponsors, for your clients, for your executives? And so my agent for the speaking business will sell those as an adjunct to my regular keynote business, and it's actually working great. That'll be probably $80,000 this year. So the next question, the last question that I asked was the future. Okay, this turned out to be a business somewhat unexpectedly. How can I keep this community engaged and grow this business without screwing up my regular job. Because that's the challenge, right? I still have a really busy regular job. I'm only spending 8 hours a week on this tequila thing. And if I was doing this full time, I'd probably go about it a little differently, but I can't just stop speaking to drink more tequila, at least not yet. So how do I kind of do this, right? And balance this out. So here's some of the plans we have for the next 12 months. First is to consider adding channels, right? Should we do longer form content? Should we think about a podcast or a longer form YouTube channel or even a blog? There's very little blog content about tequila, so that's an option. Second option is creating more lists to boost subscribers. So I've got the list of brands, but what if we also had, maybe you're a Blanco fan, top 25 Blancos, top 15 Reposados under $20, right? There's a lot of other ways to harvest email addresses from people on more specific content, so we're working on that. Also, we're probably going to build an online tequila education course. So many of you are much better at courses than I am, but that's certainly something that we're considering is a course just for tequila education. And then creating some trips. So going to Mexico with people who are interested in tequila and want to learn more and want to do it with me. So groups of 5, groups of 10, even groups of 50, going to Mexico, visiting distilleries, having great food, that kind of thing. And then we're also talking about, probably be year after next actually, but talking about an actual event. So an event not dissimilar from this one, that's 2 days of business content, and then 2 days of tequila tasting and have it in Guadalajara. That's probably something we're gonna tackle at some point as well. So stay tuned for more. Expected revenue in the next 12 months is about 240, we think, is the pro forma. So that's a 100% increase year over year, which I feel pretty good at since it's still very much a side business. So we've got a couple minutes left. Does anybody want to try a tequila right now up on the stage? Come on up. You, sir, please. Here we go. We're gonna do this the right way. I'm gonna get you a pour. This is one of my favorite brands, Wild Common, owned by a content creator, National Geographic photographer Andy Barden, great brand. All right, Fernando, come on over. All right, Fernando, get over here. Salucita.
Salud.
Salud. Okay, first thing is you want to kind of give it, as I mentioned, really want to get a smell in there. So a couple things to note. You want to hold it at 45-degree angle because you get more surface area, more oxygen on it. Okay, and you want to smell it one nose at a time. I know that seems weird, but it really helps. And open your mouth.
Okay.
When you open your mouth, it opens your nasal passages, and you get a lot more nose on it than if you keep your mouth closed. I know it seems ridiculous, and I know it seems like someone's going to throw popcorn in your mouth, but trust me, it's the right way to do it. Nice, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Cheers. Okay, second thing is a sip. You want to do kind of a mouthwashy swish thing. You want to get it all around your mouth, right? Because your whole mouth is going to taste it different ways. So more of a mouthwashy kind of thing. Then you want to do that swish.
Is this a Blanco?
This is a Reposado, a light Reposado, 3 months. This is 3 months in oak. You want to then do a little swish, which you did. Then you want to do the dragon, okay? I'm gonna show you. Okay, you ready? So you do the sip and a swish, and then you breathe in, you breathe out and then in, so watch. Okay, so sip, swish, breathe out, and then breathe in. And when you do that breathe in, it's gonna feel like it punched you in the face. Right? Yeah. Right? Look at that, look at it. But you can really taste it now, right? You can taste it in a way you couldn't taste it before. When the oxygen hits it, especially on your cheeks, you get flavor compounds you couldn't get otherwise. It really, really makes a big difference. So when you're in Mexico, all the old dudes, all the like 4th generation distillery guys, 10 a.m. they're doing the dragon, right? And they know exactly how to do it. That's the right way to do it.
It's a good party trick.
Yeah, it's a good party trick. Cheers.
Thank you very much.
My pleasure. Fernando! All right, lastly, give me a slide, gents. Lastly, just a toast to all of you. One thing I've learned in the last year, and I knew it, but I learned it, is that this is really hard. The number of nights that I cried myself to sleep as a B2B content creator, 0 nights. The number of nights I've cried myself to sleep as a B2C content creator, all the time. So This is really, really hard. And the fact that you are committed to making this work as a content entrepreneur, the fact that you've journeyed here to Cleveland in this fantastic meteorological scenario, the fact that you are part of the Tilt or other communities means that you are well on your way to success. And I will tell you one thing, it may not happen instantly, but if you keep at it, it will happen. Success in this business is about perspiration, not inspiration. Toast to all of you. Cheers.